The old Victorian house stood at the edge of town. It was a looming presence, shrouded in the dark tales. Locals whispered about its history. A fire in the 1800s claimed the entire family residing there. Then, in the 1950s, a young couple met a grim end within its walls, a suspected murder-suicide. Each subsequent resident seemed to meet an untimely and unusual demise. The house became a vacant shell, its windows like vacant eyes staring out at the world. My parents, drawn to the home's architectural beauty, remained unconvinced by the stories. They saw a diamond in the rough, a chance to restore a piece of history. Little did they know they were stepping into a nightmare. The house was more than just old. It felt weighed down by unseen forces, its very air thick with dread. Shadows seemed to linger a little too long, and unexplained noises echoed in the dead of night. The house held a darkness that chilled you to the bone. My parents, ever the pragmatists, dismissed the stories as mere superstition. They believed logic could explain away any unsettling occurrence. My father, a contractor, relished the challenge of restoring the house to its former glory. He saw it as a battle against time and neglect, not against supernatural entities. My mother, a history teacher, was captivated by the house's past. She spent hours researching old records, determined to separate fact from fiction. But beneath their confident exteriors, I sensed a growing unease. My mother's research yielded more questions than answers. She found news clippings detailing bizarre accidents and strange phenomena associated with the house. My father, a man who feared nothing, grew increasingly agitated. He'd hear whispers in the dead of night and see fleeting shadows moving at the edge of his vision. The house was working its way into their minds, planting seeds of doubt. One day, our concerned neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, took it upon herself to intervene. She was a firm believer in the supernatural and insisted the house needed cleansing. She arrived with bundles of sage and sweetgrass, her face etched with worry. Carefully, she lit the herbs and began moving through the house, allowing the smoke to drift into every corner. She chanted softly in a language I didn't understand, her voice a low thrum in the silent house. The air grew thick with the scent of burning herbs, and a strange calm seemed to settle over everything. For a brief moment, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe Mrs. Henderson's ritual would be enough. Maybe it would appease whatever lingered within these walls. But it was not to be. The sense of peace following the cleansing ritual was short-lived. A week later, the unthinkable happened. My father, working on the roof repairs, lost his footing and fell. It was a freak accident, one that shouldn't have been fatal, but the fall was severe, and he died instantly. My mother and I were devastated. The grief was overwhelming, a crushing weight that threatened to consume us. The house, once a symbol of hope and restoration, now felt like a tomb. It was as if the house had claimed another victim, feeding off our sorrow. My mother, once a skeptic, now seemed to shrink from the house's presence. She aged years in those short weeks, her face etched with a grief that ran bone deep. The light had gone out of her eyes, replaced by a haunted look. We couldn't stay in that house, not after what happened. It was too painful, a constant reminder of our loss. We packed our belongings, each item heavy with memory and sorrow. Leaving was the hardest thing I've ever done. It felt like abandoning a part of my father, leaving him trapped within those cursed walls. But I knew we couldn't heal there. The house stood on the hill, watching us go, a silent sentinel shrouded in shadow. I couldn't shake the feeling that it had taken something from us, something precious that we could never get back. The weight of its history, of all the lives lost within its walls, seemed to press down on me. I sold the house soon after, unable to bear the thought of it standing empty, waiting for its next victim. I often wonder about the new owners, a young couple with bright eyes and infectious laughter. They seemed oblivious to the house's dark past, eager to start their lives within its walls. Part of me hopes they find peace there, that they can break the cycle of tragedy that has plagued the house for so long. But deep down, a knot of unease remains. I can't shake the feeling that the house is a living entity feeding off the energy of its inhabitants. Perhaps in time it will claim them too. Or perhaps, just perhaps, their love and light will be enough to banish the shadows that cling to that old house. Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The house on the hill will always hold a dark fascination for me, a chilling reminder of the power of the unseen world and the fragility of human life.